Assuming you've either started working towards a qualification to work in early years or have recently qualified, you're probably now at a point where you're starting to consider where to apply for a position. This episode is typically tailored to someone who might be looking for their first role in an early years setting. However, you may still find it useful if you are looking for a new or different position in the early years sector. So this is the third part of our ongoing series supporting those who are looking to start or find a new job in the early years. So far, we've discussed why you might consider exploring a career in the early years sector. We've talked a little bit about some of the different roles you could potentially work in within the sector, and we've also shared some information about some of the different routes into finding a career in the sector, giving some guidance on the different qualifications and the different modes of study that could be followed. For example, college-based courses, various degrees, and different apprenticeship routes. Let's begin by establishing where to look for a role. Now, looking for a job can be quite overwhelming to begin with, so perhaps start off with what you already know and what you're familiar with, if that makes it feel a little bit easier. If you're already on a placement at a setting or have experience or relationships with other settings, letting the manager or managers or any other key staff know that you are looking for a role on completion of your training. They'll be able to keep you informed of any vacancies that arise within their own settings, or will be able to recommend you to any other colleagues in settings that may be looking to recruit. Word of mouth can be really powerful, so do ask around and let the right people know that you are looking for work, and listen out for any other opportunities that arise during conversations. Looking further afield, check the websites of individual settings that you are interested in and check out their associated social media pages. If there is an option to sign up for notifications of vacancies, then that might also be worth doing. Check reputable pages such as gov.uk, Find a Job, or recruitment websites such as Indeed or Total Jobs. Check job boards associated with your courses. Many local colleges and apprenticeship providers can share opportunities with their trainees and their apprentices. Check out local authorities and other early years organisations. Again, they often have opportunities that you may not have already come across. There are also a number of recruitment agencies that you might consider signing up with. They will hear about new opportunities coming through and keep you updated if you are registered with them. Many supply teacher recruitment agencies are also often looking for early years specialists, so that might also be worth considering. Once you find the right types of job advert, it can be helpful to know what it is you're looking for. So for anyone who's not familiar with a job advert, we thought it might be useful to talk through some of the things that you might expect to find. The job advert will usually include the name of the setting or at least its location. Be aware though that if the job is being advertised through an external recruitment agency, the setting name might not be specified. Often the agency will keep that information from you because they will want you to contact them to get the more specific details. Typically, the job advert will have the job title or job role, and this will tell you what the job is for. For example, if it's for a manager, a deputy manager, a level 3 practitioner, etc. There will be a job description or details of the role that might be titled as something different. So, for example, it might state main duties or main responsibilities. And this is the main section of the job advert. It will give you the majority of the information that you will need to inform you of the tasks that you will be expected to carry out should you be successful and be appointed to the role. And it will give you an insight of what a typical day might look like. It should also give you information around the contract, for example, if it's permanent or temporary, full-time or part-time. There may also be some details given about shift patterns and benefits associated with the role, such as the salary to be expected and any holiday requirements. If not listed within the main job description, sometimes information about the qualifications required or personal attributes for the role may be presented in a separate document called a person specification. This document will often outline the essential skills or qualifications, as well as desired skills or qualifications needed for the role. Usually, if something is stated as being essential on the job advert, then it means that you do need to have that qualification or skill, unless you are already working towards gaining it. If you don't, then this probably isn't worth applying for. However, that said, if there is anything on the essential list that you want to have a question about, then do get in touch with the setting to find out whether or not you will still be a likely successful candidate. Anything listed in the desirable section are nice to haves. So these are just what they say they are. They are desirable. They may add weight to your job application, but do not be put off if you do not have those things and meet the criteria. They are, like I say, desirable. Look at the salary that is stated. You'll start to get an idea of what is typically offered in terms of salary for the type of role that you are applying for. So if you think that what is being offered is a fair pay, then this might be a position for you to apply for. If it appears to be poorly paid for, then think about whether or not the salary will be enough for you to meet your financial needs and commitments. If the role is part-time and the salary is listed as per annum, which is a yearly payment, rather than stated as an hourly rate, bear in mind that if the job is advertised as 0.5, which means half of the full-time hours, and the salary is advertised as £22,000, for example, pro rata, then a 0.5 salary would actually equate to only half of that £22,000. So it would mean that you would be paid £11,000 for half of the year's work, if that makes sense. If you see the term pro rata, this just means that you will get paid the appropriate proportion of the salary according to the hours that you pay. So if you work half of what is typically full-time hours, then you would get half of the full-time pay. Usually we hear the term shortlisting used by an employer. They receive a number of applicants for a role, and then after reading the applications, they shortlist to the number of applicants that they feel may be suitable for the role. And then they would typically invite these candidates on the shortlist to come for an interview. In this instance, we're suggesting that you also carry out a process of shortlisting yourself. When you begin exploring job vacancies, at first glance, you are likely to come across a large number of options of potential jobs that you may want to apply for. But it's really important that you are realistic and avoid the temptation of just applying for every single job you come across. So the first thing that you need to do is to try to reduce the list to a more manageable number so that when you do make an application, it's going to be a lot more meaningful and of a lot higher quality. So first of all, for your initial shortlisting, you might like to look at the title and the location of the job. Look carefully at the job title and the headline qualification requirements. If the job advertised requires an element of responsibility, it's likely that the role might be best suited to someone with experience, and often it will state this at the beginning of the job description. If you're applying for your first role, then a role of responsibility probably isn't the right thing for you yet. Bear in mind the location. Check that the job advertised is actually within reach for you. Occasionally on search engines, jobs from a wider geographical field will end up in your search. If the job is out of area, then unless you are seriously considering relocating for that job, then perhaps you need to remove that job from your shortlist. Benefits are often listed. And as well as taking note of the salary, are there any other benefits listed? So consider the amount of annual leave offered. Are there any additional days, such as having your birthday off work or an extra day for well-being? Any other incentives, such as access to an employee assistance programme, pension, high street discounts, ongoing professional development opportunities, flexible working arrangements, discounted childcare for any children you have yourself, access to food and or refreshments whilst you're on shift. These are all things to bear in mind that could save you some money. However, do bear in mind that these are some of the incentives offered by some nurseries, so do try to not be put off any if they are not on offer from the settings that you are looking at. It's important that you research the role. So again, going back to the job advert, look carefully at the job description. Does it state, for example, what room you will be expected to work in initially? If your experience is mostly with babies, then you might find it a bit of a challenge initially if you are going to be based in the preschool room. Make a note of any questions that you have. For example, if you were to be appointed to work in that room, will there be an expectation or opportunities to work with other age groups too? If there are any other specific requirements to the role, such as being a coordinator for a particular area of learning, are there any additional qualifications required? Or will there be any professional development opportunities offered to enable you to lead that area to the best of your ability? Consider the times of shift. This might not be specified in the advert, but if it is stated, then do factor shift times into your consideration so that you can consider if the hours are likely to work for you in your existing circumstances, such as family commitments. Some time to research the setting. Explore its website and its social media pages. Identify if there are any affiliated settings. For example, is it part of a small group of nurseries or even a wider chain? Take some time to look at its most recent Ofsted inspection and also see if it's listed on any other websites such as daynurseries.co.uk to see if there are any reviews or testimonials. Do be advised though to read any documents such as these with caution. Sometimes one person's negative comment might not be a true reflection of what is being offered at the nursery. Equally, a glowing testimonial might not be a true reflection either. But do look for trends and do try to stay focused on the feedback that is the most recent. Comments made in an Ofsted inspection a long time ago when there was a different team of staff or a different manager in place may not be relevant anymore. If what you see sparks an interest in the settings, then contact the nursery and see if it's possible for you to arrange an informal meeting or to have a walk around the nursery so that you can ask questions ahead of applying. Often, if you are undecided about making an application, taking the time to visit the setting can help you to make a more informed decision. By visiting the setting physically, you get to see if you like the feel of the setting and can decide whether or not you could visualise yourself working there. Going to visit the setting ahead of applying can also help you to establish some of the practicalities around your potential commute. Is it easily accessible from where you live, either by public transport or if you are driving? If you intend to drive, is there sufficient free parking available near to the setting? How long would you need to factor in for your regular commute? Is there anything in particular that excites you about this setting in terms of what it offers? For example, if you have a forest school qualification, would you have the potential to use that qualification at this setting? Now it's important to just take some time to just think about the practicalities. So again, look at the start date. Is that feasible for you? Do you need to factor in any notice periods if you are contracted to any other roles? If you do have any other commitments, is this role likely to work for you? For example, thinking again about the location of the setting. If you have children of your own to drop off at school in the morning, is the location of the setting practical in terms of dropping your children off and getting to work on time? Look at the application dates and deadlines. Are you actually going to have time to submit a quality application in time? If you feel like you can't submit in time, but you are really interested in this role, then do try to make contact with the setting to see if there is any way that they would consider accepting a late application according to your personal circumstances. Think about your next steps. So take some time to browse the associated national specific early years careers focus sites appropriate to where you live. If you're lucky enough to live near a national border, you may have the option to find a career in a different nation. With that in mind though, there may be different qualification requirements, so do take time to check those affiliated sites and check those details. Finally, before you start looking and making your application, do remember to look at our website where you will find lots more useful advice around careers in early years within our Careers Pathways series. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you found this useful and we look forward to you joining us in our next session where we will talk about making your application.